McLaren are having one hell of a 2025 season. We won a hell of a car. Their current win rate this season so far is 78%, winning 11 of the 14 races held so far, with the only races they haven't won being when Max Verstappen has done Max Verstappen things, and that weekend where Mercedes decided they were going to be good for a change. And unless something dramatic happens, McLaren are probably going to continue as they have been when the season resumes this weekend at the Netherlands. But their season has got me thinking, what's been some of the most dominant F1 seasons ever? Here's 5 of them. As always, remember to like and subscribe for more if you go on to enjoy the video, and let me Kane in the comments, out of curiosity, what's been your favourite F1 car ever? Either a specific car or just a general reg set. First of all, we're heading back in time over 70 years to Ferrari in 1952. F1 was a very different sport back in the 50s compared to the sport we kinda is today. But one thing remains the same back then as to new, and that's that Ferrari were there. Of the 8 races held in 1952, they won 7 of them, only losing the Indy 500, which is worth noting while it counted for points in F1 and was on the F1 schedule. It was not run to F1 rules, and most of the F1 drivers didn't race it. Only one of the 1952 Ferrari drivers took part in it actually, which was eventual champion Alberto Ascari, who retired. But he then went on to win the 6 remaining races that year, held in Belgium, France, the UK, Germany, the Netherlands and Italy. Ferrari's 7th win came at the hands of Piero Taruffi at the opening race in Switzerland. 1952 was the first year that did not see Alfa Romeo winning the Drivers' Championship, or even any races or racing in F1 at all after they departed after 1951, a departure Ferrari took full opportunity of and just dominated proceedings, winning 87.5% of the races run that year. As we move on to the next season on the list, we're staying in Maranello, Italy, and heading to 2002. Ferrari had one hell of a year in 2002, winning 15 of the 17 races. Really, there was no contest for them that year. This was in the height of the Ferrari dominance years after all, and given the dominance we saw for them in the early 2000s, it's no surprise to see one of those years appear on this list. The majority of the 15 wins Ferrari saw this season were taken by eventual champion Michael Schumacher, taking Australia, Brazil, Imola, Spain, Austria, Canada, the UK, France, Germany, Belgium and Japan, while Rubens Barrichello won in the Nürburgring, Hungary, Italy and the USA. Monaco was one of only 2 races Ferrari didn't win in 2002, David Coulthard taking that for McLaren, while Ralf Schumacher won in Malaysia. It is worth noting that Michael Schumacher's win in Australia was actually with the F2001B, not the F2002 that wasn't introduced until Brazil. Not really vital information, because we're talking about whole seasons and not specific cars, but just thought I'd mention it. All this to say, the Italian team ended 2002 with a win rate in that season of 88.24%. The F2002, which as I say was introduced at round 3 in Brazil and 4 for Barrichello, it is to this day one of Ferrari's most successful cars in the history of the championship, and 2002 as a season as a whole, one of their most successful seasons. 2002 was also the season where Schumi became the only driver to finish on the podium in every single race in a season. Leaving Italy, we move to the UK. / Germany, I guess, because we're speaking about the UK-based German team Mercedes in 2016. Mercedes had dominated the previous 12 seasons in 2014 and 2015, but 2016 was their most dominant of the first 3 years of the turbo hybrid regs. They only lost 2 races this year. Spain, where they took each other out after 4 corners, and that was the only race this season with no Mercedes driver on the podium, and Malaysia, where you have to think Mercedes probably would have won that if Lewis's engine hadn't died when he was 20 or so seconds in the lead. Champion Nico Rosberg won the opening 4 rounds in Australia, Bahrain, China and Russia, then took further wins in Baku, Belgium, Italy, Singapore and Japan. While Lewis Hamilton won in Monaco, Canada, Austria, Silverstone, Hungary, Germany, and then he swept the final 4 rounds in the US, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi. They won 19 out of the 21 races run in 2016. 90.48% of their races. They really rocked up to Melbourne, turned to the other teams and then just went, right, see y'all in Abu Dhabi, and then just buggered off up front. It was the Mercedes show with a cameo from Red Bull. Next, we go back in time to 1988, because holy hell, McLaren and their MP4. The only race they lost in 1988 was the Italian Grand Prix, where Prost's car died and Senna got into a tangle with a backmarker late on while leading, which allowed Ferrari to take an emotional 1-2 a month or so after their founder Enzo Ferrari's passing. Ayrton Senna, who won the championship that year, took wins in Imola, Canada, Detroit, the UK, Germany, Hungary, Belgium and Japan. Prost, meanwhile, won in Brazil, Monaco, Mexico, France, Portugal, Spain and Australia. 15 wins from 16 races, which is 93.75%. The combination of Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost and the McLaren MP44 was quite frankly deadly, and it's a bit mad that all that separated the McLaren for a perfect season was a back marker in Monza. But of course, there was only going to ever be one team to take the top spot on this list, and we all ken what it is. It's Red Bull 12 years ago. The RB19 was something I think Red Bull probably miss a lot right now. 22 races run in 2023. 21 of them won by Red Bull. Carlos Sainz winning in Singapore was the only thing separating Red Bull for a perfect season. And 19 of those 21 races Red Bull won were taken by Max Verstappen, and a season is going to go down as one of the greatest seasons by a driver in F1 history. Apart from Singapore, the ones he didn't win were Saudi Arabia and Baku, which were both taken by Sergio Perez. 21 out of 22 race wins comes out to winning 95.5% of the races run in that season. It was the Red Bull show with a cameo from Ferrari that one weekend Red Bull were crap. And I'm gonna be honest, I really am questioning if we're ever gonna see a team able to beat that 95.5% that Red Bull have set. We all, I think we all got a little bit sick of seeing Red Bull winning week in, week out that year. But honestly, while it can be dull to go into race after race thinking, yeah, okay, Team X is probably gonna win, seasons like that do go down in history, and they're always going to appear from time to time. And Red Bull's 2023 season is without question going down in history as probably the greatest season by a team in F1 history. And now for those curious, I'm going to just throw it in here at the end that if McLaren win all the remaining races, they'd end the year with 21 wins for 24 races, which would put them level with Ferrari's 1952 season with an 87.5% of the races won. Anyways, I'll end this one here. If you're interested in another video along these lines talking about some other years where one team just dominated proceedings, then please leave some suggestions for seasons you'd like to see in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.